Hi guys, welcome back to the Humble Gamer channel. I am the Humble Gamer, as you can see, and this is some more train sim. We're now driving the Ffestiniog route, as promised a couple of weeks ago when I did my Sodor narrow gauge stuff. We are driving, it's officially called the North Wales narrow gauge railway. You can get it on UK train sim. The link is in the description below, as with all the stock and scenery upgrades, which I would recommend you get. You need the stock to run in any scenarios. But also check the scenery upgrade as well. We're driving the Ffestiniog Railway. The route itself is absolutely huge because you've got the North Welsh Narrow Gauge Railway Part 1, which is the Ffestiniog route, which runs, of course, from Portmadog all the way up here to Blaenau Ffestiniog. I hope I pronounced that correctly. For any Welsh viewers, Welsh is not a language I pretend to speak. I did go to university in Wales, in Carmarthen if anyone's interested, but I don't claim to speak any Welsh. But the first part of this route we're driving is going to be from Porthmadog as far as Tan-Y-Bwlch. Just here where we'll stop and split it into two. But there's also the Welsh Highland line from Portmadog all the way up to Carnarvon, which I shall drive at some point later on, because the people that have done this route, Steve Pontin and his team, are releasing different locomotive packs. So obviously at the moment we've got a lot of Ffestiniog Railways, and we're going to be driving this one, which is Mervyn Emrys, which has a lovely whistle which sounds like this. And we should be driving as far as Tan-Y-Bwlch, so we'll do that now. First check on all narrow gauge locomotives, take the handbrake off, and of course set the route so we can at least go over the famous Cobb just outside Ffestiniog. So, not Ffestiniog, outside Portmadog. So we're going to do that now. So here we go, as far as Tan-Y-Bwlch for the first episode. I hadn't turned this on at all, apart from just to double check that everything works, and obviously to set up exactly what I'm doing with the scenario. But you can see all the stock we've got pretty much released so far just here. Right, slow down because it's only 5 miles an hour out of the station or out of the yard. Like I said, please do go and download this from UK Train Sim. These guys, Steve Pontin, created the Tally-Clin Railway both for Microsoft Train Sim, going a long way back into the day, and also he's also released it for this as well. We will run the Tally-Clin route as well at some point, but again that's going to be a two-parter because it's quite a long run, given the speed limits, etc. So here we go. Across the Cobb with a fantastic double fairly locomotive. Don't worry, I will be doing standard gauge stuff as well. Like there's an episode of Sodor hopefully coming out next week, which is all standard gauge. That's a very work in progress part of the route, but I hope you guys will still enjoy it for what it is. But yes, either way, away we go across the Cobb, which is basically a very long causeway which runs, as you can see, right next to the road. The tide can come up quite high here. This is the bay outside Portmadog. We can now go at 20 miles an hour, so let's open the taps a little bit of Mervyn Emrys. Mervyn is the Welsh for Merlin. Something I know from being in well, I went to university in Carmarthen, which is Caerfyrddin, I think, in Welsh. And it's got a big connection with Merlin as well. We'll talk some more about that as we travel this, what already looks like a stunning route, and I will be doing the Welsh Highland line at some point as well. This is not strictly a wholly factual representation of it. It is a standalone route from the real life route, but it is heavily based on it, and they will have done some fantastic work. I can't wait to see all the scenery they've got, and of course we've got all the passenger views in various coaches, including this wonderful observation saloon at the end, which again I used on my Sodor playthrough of the Mid-Sodor Railway, or Duke's Old Line. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out in the description down below. We will be stopping at all stations very quickly just to have a look around at each one. Boston Lodge I remember very well. This is a route I've never travelled on, but I would love to travel on it. Same with the Tallyclyn. I would absolutely love to travel on it. But as I've said before, please do check it out in the description below, get all the stuff to do with it, and keep an eye out on it on UK Train Sim, because they will release... These guys are good. They've been good for Train Sim for a long time. They're big members of the Train Simming community, and they will release regularly, like every couple of months or so, I hope so. Once I've got some of the more Welsh... Once they've got some of the more Welsh Highland stock out, I should be doing the Welsh Highland Railway, hopefully with one of the big Bayer Garretts that they have. Love those. Absolutely love those. But let's turn our attention now to the approach into Boston Lodge, which is the big works of the Ffestiniog Railway, where a lot of these engines were actually built. I believe this one itself was built at Boston Lodge. Boston Lodge, rebuilt 1988, so it is an original locomotive, but there are a couple of new ones. I don't know enough about the Ffestiniog Railway to know exactly which new ones, which locomotives they have that are new. Please do comment in the description below if you happen to know. But it's already looking like a beautiful, beautiful route. And it's going to be quite a tough drive because a lot of it is uphill. An awful lot of it is uphill. But here we are into Boston Lodge. There's all the... I know we're speeding, but we won't be speeding for long. But there's all the loco works and carriage works that the Ffestiniog Railway has. Boston Lodge is of course a request stop. I don't think you have to stop there, but we're going to because I want to enjoy the full route as much as we can in the time that we've got. We're going slightly uphill now, so I'll need a little bit of extra stuff in the tanks. Oh, I love that whistle. That is a beautiful, deep, LMS almost style whistle. But yes, and don't worry, I will be getting to some of your requests as well very, very soon. Obviously with the move I had to plan stuff very much on the fly. But now that the move is completed, we shall be doing lots of the stuff that you guys have asked to see with as many locomotives as I have. Obviously we just had a steam sale, so I've got a few more locomotives that I want to show you guys. Most of them, in fact all of them are steam apart from one, so if you're a diesel fan you will have to wait a little while, but there we go. Let's just load some passengers up from Boston Lodge Halt, and then our next stop will be Minffordd, or Minford as we English would call it. Let's set the route properly. We want to stay in the left-hand track as much as possible. And then from Minffordd we'll be going to Penryn, through Rhywgoch to Plas Halt, and then finishing at Tan-Y-Bwlch. Good, we're all good to go. And it's a climb pretty much from here on out for the entirety of the route. So that's going to be an interesting challenge for me to drive. But at least I took the handbrake off this time. At least I've done that much. So here we go to Boston Lodge while the train makes its way. Let's have a good look around these Boston Lodge carriage, wagon and loco works sidings. The detail here is really nice. It's really, really nice. I don't know if this is just a straight transfer from the train sim route, or if it's a new build. I think it's a brand new build. But oh, this is absolutely lovely. Anyway, it's probably about time we caught up with the train and the locomotive. But this is utterly gorgeous, and I think I shall be adapting some of this scenery into the Sodor route as well. Now the Sodor route, again, check out the Sodor snippets playlist in the description below if you're new to the channel, particularly if you're a fan of Thomas the Tank Engine and want to see it modelled, because I've actually built my own version of the route. And I am looking at making it downloadable in sections over the next 12 months or so. Obviously I shall be optimising it so that you would need as little third-party DLC as is possible. Obviously you'll need some, because it's a third-party heavy route, but I'm trying to sort it up in sections. It will be on the Steam Workshop in sections. At one point, I will eventually release the whole route so you can have everything. They won't collide, so you can just run along Thomas's branch line or the Little Western or things like that. But that'll be happening over the next 12 to 18 months because I've figured out how to do it. I've figured it out and I know what I'm doing. So, again, turning our attention back to this run with Maerdy and Emrys as we're heading towards Minford, where we will pass the main line, the main Cambrian route, what used to be the Cambrian route. I'd love it if someone could release the Cambrian route, either a third-party developer or Dovetail Games or the community out there. If anyone could re-release the Cambrian route for Train Sim, because I used to love running along that, particularly the old GWR 90XX Duke Dogs and things like that, some proper old GWR style. Nope. Coming across a crossing then, judging by the sounds. There we are, yep. Might as well adhere to the speed limits, give you as accurate a run of this route as is humanly possible. I think I've split it into half-hour bits, but I'm not entirely certain. So this one might be a bit longer than the second one, but either way, as we now, there's Minford Yard. What actually do we have here at Minford? Minffordd, sorry, I should give it its Welsh pronunciation. Minor Veron is what it's called. It's, from what I can tell, it's definitely a goods yard. I don't know whether it's used as a transfer yard. But either way, there's the BR station at Minffordd, and that line obviously goes then all the way to Portmadog, and it goes off this way towards Harlech. As we cross over the BR main line, which apparently has been ripped up. I've obviously not got the exact asset they use for their track, but never mind. 1 in 59, that was a gradient of at one point. As we come slightly speeding into Minffordd, which has got a lovely sort of... Because the thing is, a lot of these narrow gauge lines in this particular part of Wales, in fact in Wales in general, were actually commuter routes. They were used the same way we use big standard gauge mainline railways now, and so, you know, a lot of the stations had very sort of not quite delusions of grandeur, because they are of course lovely stations, but they had very much the sort of thought that they were being used as commuters, and they were, you know, sizable communities round here actually. So yeah, there we are. This is the small town of Minffordd in northwest Wales. Which, like I said, has apparently had its track ripped up, but fortunately I won't be driving that route anytime soon anyway, so it doesn't really matter that the track isn't there. But yeah, if someone could do the Cambrian coast route, that would be amazing. We must have collected all the passengers by now, which we have. And so let's get going. Forwards, please. I love also the fact that they've got the electronic signals, which I do believe the Ffestiniog Railway actually has. It has proper electronic light signals. That'll do it for the Syndicots. As we head out again onto the main line. Through the shunt. And towards our next stop in a few minutes, which is Penryn. Popular destination for holiday goers, I think, Penryn. But again, a lot of these places are destinations for holiday goers because the Welsh Highlands are absolutely beautiful. In fact, the Welsh coast, Wales is beautiful. I love Wales. I have a lot of time for the country and the people. Obviously, being English, not all of them have a huge amount of time for me, but that's fine. That's their decision entirely. And the English were absolute dicks to them historically, so I can definitely forgive them that. Okay, now let's give it a few more percentage from the taps, so we can make our way to Penryn swiftly. I reckon it'll be about half an hour before we reach, by the time we reach Tan-Y-Bwlch. But the scenery here is just, they've done such a wonderful job. It's so detailed. Seriously, I do recommend downloading this route. Check it out in the description below, UK Train Sim. Get all the other stuff that it recommends to go with it as well. And also check out Steve Pontin's Sally Flynn Adventure route down below as well. That will be featured on the channel very, very soon. Probably over the December-January period. So, because that's the period we're coming into. I don't know why I bothered saying that. Of course, the December-January period. But 1 in 75, we're heading up now. Now, obviously, originally, a lot of these lines in Wales were used for slate traffic. They were not primarily designed with passengers in mind. It was a big slate railway, so that's why you'll find a lot of yards, a lot of good stuff. And it was a huge industry in Wales. And I believe the Tan-Y-Bwlch was the world's first preserved railway, certainly Britain's first properly preserved volunteer-run railway, I think. Again, let me know. But yeah, and then a lot of the what they call the great little trains of Wales, the great little lines of Wales, followed suit, like the Ffestiniog Railway, like the Welsh Highland Railway, like the Welsh Pool and Llanfair Light Railway, all that sort of stuff. And there's a huge industry in Wales now, which is entirely based on narrow gauge railway engines and lines and appeasing people that like that. And if you get a chance to go to Wales at any point in your life and you're a train fan, do go and check out the real thing, because they're amazing. And of course, I've forgotten the Snowdon Mountain Railway, which I also have on this. We'll be doing a lot of little lines of Wales over the next few months. Train sim has already become quite a big thing on the channel. It's now going to be a staple of the channel, so if you are a train sim fan, please do hit that subscribe button. There'll be lots of stuff coming. I'm going to try and get a new add-on, a paid-for add-on, new add-on every month. Finances allowing, so eventually I will have the complete collection of train sim add-ons. And I will keep you up to date with how the Sodor route is going and where you can find it and when things are released, obviously. So, but either way, here we go. We're heading in towards Penryn now, which is, as you can see, a lovely little Welsh village. I think, again, a mining village. But we're coming up close now, so 1 in 80, I can probably lower the throttle a little bit. Don't lower it too much, otherwise we'll just stop dead. Oh, did I miss a whistle point? Oh, bugger. I whistle so much in this game, I actually don't bother looking at the actual railway commands and controls. But, oh, I love this style of railwaying and modelling. It's such a that you can get such wonderful little vignettes and scenes and things like this. But either way, here we are in Penryn. Just pulling in now. I'm going to speed slightly into the station because I'm going over 10 miles an hour. But, oh, look at that. Lovely, lovely detailing here. Just looks beautiful. You know, I genuinely think that as the railway modelling hobby needs to pay more attention to things like train sim and the electronic way of modelling, when, you know, you perhaps don't have the eyesight to do full-scale modelling, or indeed the time. You know, I mean, obviously this takes a fair while. These things take a fair while to do, as a fellow route builder, I suppose, by proxy. But you know, I'm aware of how much time it takes to do these little things. And to do a route of this size and this magnitude with this much... I mean, look at Penryn. I've never been to Penryn, but I would... If someone said to me that is photorealistic, that's exactly how it looks from this position in the air, I would believe them. Because obviously, not only do I know that Steve Pontin's work is phenomenal... We've collected all the passengers now, haven't we? Yes, we have, I think. Must have done by now. Yes, we do. We have, so... Let's pull away from the station. Don't want to speed up too quickly because the speed limit is still 10 mph. But you know, I would believe that, having known Steve Pontin's work and having seen his Tan-Y-Bwlch route and having seen other routes that he's done and other work he's done, I would fully believe that he and his team have done this with full respect to exactly how it looks. And I reckon that if you live in Penryn and are watching this video, let me know how close it is. Let me give you a sort of proper aerial shot of Penryn. There's the station directly below us. Does Penryn look like that? I can only imagine it looks at least very similar to that. As we come across the level crossing here with its attendant train I'm not going to call them train spotter, train enthusiast I will call them, because I don't like the term train spotter. Because a lot of us aren't train spotters, we're just train enthusiasts. Not that there's anything wrong with being an actual train spotter, that's perfectly fine. We all have hobbies, and if yours is collecting numbers of locomotives or trains or whatever it is you do with the hobby when you go out and watch trains, more power to you. I wish I had the time to do something like that. Unfortunately, I don't. Obviously, I do YouTube as my hobby and virtual railway modelling, but yeah. So next thing we'll go through is going through Rhywgoch. I really hope I'm getting the Welsh pronunciations at least close. At least close. As a sort of hobbyist, I love language and linguistics, and I really would like to think that I'm doing the Welsh language is a beautiful language. I really hope I'm doing it at least some credit with the way I'm pronouncing things. But if I'm not, I do apologise. I am English, and I didn't learn Welsh. I picked up a few bits. Obviously, going to university in Wales, you know, you pick up a few things, and as a linguist, I'm very interested in the lyrical nature of the Welsh language. It's absolutely beautiful. I think I did actually miss that whistle sign, but never mind. I whistled in the end, and people would have time to run across. I'm only going 18.7 miles an hour. But yes, and after Rhywgoch, we are going to go through Rhywgoch, and our next stop will be at Plas-Hwlt, which is a request, and then we will finish our journey at Tan-Y-Bwlch. Apparently the speed limit here is 100 miles an hour. I think Steve Pontin's missed some detailing there. Unless the speed limit there is actually 100 miles an hour, in which case let's open the taps and see how close we can get. The fastest I've got any of these Ffestiniog locomotives to go is 19.6, I think I made once. Obviously going on the flat or uphill. Downhill I could probably make them go 100 miles an hour, but there we go, I thought so. It's gone back to 20 now. Oh, that crossing is obviously no longer used. Maybe the farm there is closed down. So that's the thing I love about this, you can sense like stories in it. Ah yes, now I think what we're coming up to as we come through Rhywgoch is, I think, not 9, 8, thank you. So the train can go comfortably through Rhywgoch, that's not an issue. But I think this actually was a dam at one point. Oh no, it is just a bridge, isn't it? It's just they built this massive stone causeway for the engines to go across, and the locomotives and the trains of slate to go across. A few frame rate issues there, but I'm getting a new computer soon in the next couple of months or so, so frame rate issues should be a thing of the past, because I'm going to pay for it, and I'm going to pay to get a good one, a really good one. On finance, obviously. I can't afford to drop £3 on a computer, but I can drop a few bits a month on it. But yeah, so here we go. We're through Rhywgoch now, which, if you missed it, is a small goods passing place, presumably at one point mainly used for slate trains. I suppose also the passenger trains can use it now as a genuine passing place. But one thing I'm really waiting for is when they bring out the Prince type locomotive, made famous to my generation through Duke on the Carlisle Railway in the Reverend Awdry's Thomas the Tank Engine books. But I don't give him enough credit for the Thomas the Tank Engine books, actually. I talk about the Reverend Awdry a lot, but I don't give enough credit for creating them. But oh, look at this scenery, it's so detailed. So very detailed, and from the cab, I genuinely could see that this is what, like I said, as I said with Penryn, I believe that this is what a Ffestiniog driver would see from the cab of their locomotive. You know, this lovely scenery and everything, but I prefer to see all routes I do, new and old, from the flying camera view, because look at that. That is stunning detailing. I know it sounds like a really stupid thing to keep going on about, but the amount of detail that has gone into this route, and it was only released at the start of November, so it's only about a month old. If you haven't downloaded it yet, like I said, please do check the links in the description below, and check out Steve Ponting's other work. He doesn't just do the routes, he does locomotives and rolling stock as well, and obviously he has a team, and sadly my research capabilities are awful, and so I forgot to research exactly who the team was, but it's all there on the UK Train Sim page, and honestly, go out and download them. It's completely free, unless you want to subscribe to UK Train Sim, which basically gives you a first come first served basis on the downloads. You get priority download. You don't have to wait for it in a queue. But honestly, go and download them, because there are some. A lot of people have, because of the Steam Workshop, and rightly so. The Steam Workshop is a wonderful thing. It's a very useful tool to have. But people have forgotten about things like UK Train Sim, I think. They're certainly forgetting to upload necessarily all their stuff to it, but a lot of the stuff now goes on the Steam Workshop, which is more convenient, I grant you that. But UK Train Sim has some fantastic stuff on there that you won't find on the Steam Workshop, and it's well worth going and having a look, particularly for routes. Obviously, you know, a lot of them require other downloads, not only from UK Train Sim, but, you know, obviously third-party payware downloads and a lot of other freeware stuff as well from the Steam Workshop to make their stuff work, to make the routes work fully. But it's worth it. It's worth the time, and I think a yearly subscription to UK Train Sim is about £20, which is not massive when you think about it. £20 a year if you I mean, obviously, you know, you can pay it monthly and quarterly and things like that, and that's, you know, up to you. It's down to what your personal situation is, but I think £20 for a year's worth of easy access train stuff, when you consider how much the actual physical hobby costs, you know, I paid a £3 monthly subscription. I will be paying the £20. I only had £3 in my account at the time. I will be getting the yearly subscription to UK Train Sim, but I paid £3 to download this route as a priority download, to give me the month subscription. Also, I get the month as well. It's not just on this route. I got the whole month free up until I think the 13th of December. You know, I can use the UK Train Sim, and I have used UK Train Sim a lot in the in the last couple of weeks, and I will be using it even more soon. But no, considering I paid £3 essentially to get this download straight away, what I got for it would have cost tens of thousands of pounds to get as a real model railway, and plus it takes up the room that my computer takes up. It doesn't take up the house. So, you know, I personally think it's well worth it. Anyway, coming back to the amazing scenery here as we head towards Plas Holt. I reckon we'll have made Tan-Y-Bwlch by about 20-1 game time, so it would have been about 40 minutes, I reckon, by the time we get there. But just look at this stunning scenery once again. Even the detailing on the hills in the distance while I'm waving my cursor around. You know, a lot of people would leave them blank or just paint them, but look, they've put all the trees in and everything. I just think it's... the amount of effort's gone into this is phenomenal. I knew it would be good. I knew it would be good. It's a route associated with Steve Pontin. I knew it would be good. I don't know how much of the route building he did. Obviously, having seen his tally clean, I know he can do the route building. I'm just going to slow down a little bit because there are some quite tight curves here, which I can see why the limit is just 20 miles an hour. But obviously, the fact that this, one of the reasons this route used the double failure design is not just because obviously it's got the power to locomotives, but it's articulated. And so tight curves don't necessarily affect the locomotive the same they would if it was a solid base locomotive. I need to slow down now anyway because we're going to 15 miles an hour, and I can see why that is a tight curve. The railway really wanted to cling to this to this hillside. See if I can get it to just sort of 11% is probably the best I'm going to get as we enter the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit over this really tight curve. But just look at this, not that one, that one. Look at the view from the coaches, from the carriages. Look at it. It's just, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. I really do want to visit this railway in real life. And when I do visit any of these railways, I shall be taking my camera. Don't have any fears about that. You'll be seeing it all in edited videos. Is that a whistle board for me? No, I've obviously missed another whistle board. There's a water tank down there. That is a water tank, isn't it? Had to be a heck of a hose and a lot of pressure. Aha. Either way, this is Plas Holt, which is a request halt. You do not have to stop here, but I'm going to. I want to give the whole route its due. Get that lovely deep LMS whistle. see the route. I don't know why I'm pointing. You can see the route up there as it continues on. But either way, let's have a quick stop at Plasholt, which I guess is for farmers or just people who want to see the view. Obviously they've got, you know, tourist stations here as well, so let's just apply the brakes. Not quite perfectly on the platform, but you know, there's a request halt. Actually no, everything's on the platform, all 3 coaches are opening, so this I find is a good thing. But again, let's just take a moment to enjoy the fact that this is, I mean, it'd be horrible to get stranded here, but look at this gorgeous scenery. I think that bit we can see there is the turn. Oh, that is we can see just past Tan-Y-Bwlch station, so you'll see that in tomorrow's video. Because again, this is a 2-part coming over a couple of days. I think we're probably... Oh, the passengers have just finished loading, so... away we go, and once I set that to the correct amount of running, let's just get rid of that for a second. We know that we're not going to speed on this route too much. I think it's still 15 mph, but yeah, so Tan-Y-Bwlch is somewhere in this section here. And I think Tan-Y-Bwlch is the last big passing place, or certainly one of the big passing places before Blaenau Ffestiniog. In fact, oh no, there's Thualt, or Dualt. No, I think it's Thualt, double D. Before you get to Blaenau Ffestiniog, but Tan-Y-Bwlch is a station that I know of very, very well. I don't know why. I don't know if it's. I have certainly, like I said, I haven't been on the Ffestiniog. It just, that one seems to stick out in my memory. I don't know why, but it also seems like it's going to be a good place to cut this video in half, because we will have done about half the route, and we shall of course carry on with Mervyn Emrys. Tomorrow. For me it'll be today, but you guys won't see it until tomorrow, so let's drop that down to 8% so we can at least keep some form of thing going. And I should point out, a lot of the assets that are specific to the Ffestiniog route, like the wall and the causeways and stuff, they were all built themselves. They're not proprietary. These are custom-made assets, which again, as a route builder, makes this route, particularly if you're a narrow gauge route builder, that makes this route not quite a necessity, but if you're building a narrow gauge route and you want some genuine inspiration, this is the kind of thing you want to be looking at, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. It's a slightly lower gradient, so we can probably afford to have slightly less steam in the taps as we go around this very heavily detailed forested bit. Obviously, no, they've used the level of detail scenery, in the sense that a lot of the trees, the ones quite close to the line, this is something I do on Sodor, a lot of the trees close to the line are the 3D models, and then as soon as you get anywhere really away from the track that doesn't need a 3D model, you get the 2D models out, because they just are so much better for processors and frame rates. There's Tan-Y-Bwlch. Tan-Y-Bwlch coming up, or Tan-Y-Bwlch? Possibly Tan-Y-Bwlch, because I think the Y is an sound. So, apologies, I shouldn't be teaching anyone Welsh, I don't speak it, and I'm English. But I think it's Tan-Y-Bwlch. I think it's just the English calling it Tan-Y-Bwlch. I love floating bushes. Floating shrubbery is a piece of genius. I love a bit of floating shrubbery now and then. But yeah, so it will be about 22 by the time we pause here. But yeah, this is a lovely route. I'm very glad I downloaded it. I do genuinely implore you guys to download it. Check out UK Train Sim and have a look through UK Train Sim in general. There's some lovely stuff out there, some really well made stuff. And again, if you're still playing Microsoft Train Sim, the original Train Sim for PC that I played, again, the community for that is huge on UK Train Sim, especially since there's not a Steam platform for it. So if you want some great stuff there, and they're ahead in terms of what you can get. There's a lot more diversity for Microsoft Train Sim than there is for Train Sim 2017 or Railworks. It's catching up very slowly, particularly through things like Digital Traction and Just Trains like that. Steam Sound Supreme as well, they do a lot of good models. I'll put all these links in the description below, so you can go and have a look. Obviously, I'm guessing if you're watching this, you've probably played a bit of Train Sim, and so you may well know of these people. But they do some fantastic stuff, and I'll be showcasing some of their work as well in these videos. Not just the routes, but also the locomotives. Because a lot of the locomotives I drive aren't dovetail locomotives. They're third-party developer stuff, because you just get more variety. You get to see some of the more interesting locomotives. Because for me, as I've said in other videos before, don't get me wrong, I love things like Mallard and the Flying Scotsman and all the famous locomotives like Evening Star, all that sort of stuff. But give me an interesting little tank engine. Like there was a London South Western Railway 022 locomotive that I had for Microsoft Train Sim, and it was done by a man called Peter Harvey, who, again, if you're a Microsoft Train Sim user, get his stuff. It's all phenomenal. He has done some stuff for for Train Sim as well, Railworks Train Sim, for the Dovetail Games version. It's all well worth getting. But again, he can be found on UK Train Sim, and I think a little bit on the Steam Workshop. But here we are at Tan-Y-Bwlch, going into the wrong platform. I didn't set this one up correctly, but never mind. Is not the end of the world, no. And now Tan-Y-Bwlch possibly has a very famous tea lady who was always dressed in national dress, Welsh national dress, and she comes out for every train that stops at the station, which again is one of these wonderful little quirky things you get on these heritage lines, these preserved lines that you just don't get on the National Rail Network, which I think is a real shame. But either way, we've made it to Tan-Y-Bwlch. I'll load up the passengers, if I can. No, apparently I can't, but never mind. But we shall leave this one here for now. So thank you very much for watching. If you are enjoying what you're seeing, please do like and subscribe. Check out, obviously, Train Sim in the description below. And please do look at all the other links I've put down there for the third-party guys who do some sterling work. It's not all free. UK Train Sim is free, obviously. Check that out in the description below. Some of the third-party developers, obviously, you do have to pay them for it, because they're professional computer guys. They know what they're doing. It's their job to create stuff for Train Sim, and it's very reasonably priced, and it's really good stuff. So thank you very much for watching. Like I said, check out the links in the description below. Check out my Sodor Snippets playlist in the description below. If this is the first one of this series you've watched, check out, go to the playlist and check out the rest of my Train Sim 2017 specific stuff. And I'll see you tomorrow for the second half of the Ffestiniog Railway. Thank you very much for watching. I was me. That was UK Train. That was not UK Train Sim. That was Train Sim 2017 using assets from UK Train Sim of the Ffestiniog and Welsh Highland Railway. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye. Okay, that's not supposed to happen. Oops. Oopsie. Yeah, trains should not be that way up. Never mind. That's a small crash. We're gonna assume I've stopped laughing, Charlie.